Hey there, welcome back to the barn. It's almost that time of year for the annual ice fishing trip. Last year, I rigged up my snowmobile to carry all my equipment on the ice so I didn't have to haul extra sleds or things of that nature. You gotta ask yourself, what's the most important thing for a snowmobile? It's called snow. It's the first word in snowmobile. I've been looking for it and waiting for it. Let's go see if we can find some. Nope. Still no. Not here either. So with this no snow situation, I've got an older UTV that I bought at an internet justification session. Some people call them an online auction. So I think it's reasonable that I outfit this thing to be my new ice fishing setup for a zero snow ice fishing season. So come along, let's go do something, even if it's wrong. A couple things I gotta do. I'm gonna put a winch on the front. I'm gonna make an auger rack, I think on the back. That's yet to be determined. I got my big tote that houses all of my stuff. And then if I have time, I'll probably upgrade some lights, get some more illumination. These headlights are kind of lousy at night, and if I'm going across the lake, I want to be able to see the tip-ups and things of that nature. So I think the first item I'm going to attack is the winch. I have an old winch that I had mounted in my other barn, kind of utilized as a overhead hoist. I just pick up the lawnmower front ends and things of that nature to get at the blades. So I took it off the wall. Fortunately, like I said, I've had it for years. I think I have all the parts and pieces. We'll see what we can make happen. Okay, so here's what I've scavenged from the barn. I got the winch, I got the mounting hardware, and the bracket and fair lead, which the bracket and the fair lead has the holes that line up directly with the mounting holes in the front bumper. So that should be, I'm gonna say easy, but it's not. You need a couple extra elbows and a couple extra joints in your fingers to get the bolts in there, I think, but let's see how this goes. Well, there I got it. I thought these front two bolts were going to be a pain in the butt. And let's see if I can show you. I was wrong. It was all of them. These ones were weird enough where you couldn't get a ratchet in there. An extension was too big. So I ended up doing most of it with just a box end wrench, but I got her. I got the fair lead in there even. I do have to get some wiring done, obviously. I could see the need for a little extra bracing off the back side of the winch. As long as you're pulling straight, it should be good. There's holes here. I could get a piece of angle and come up and tie that in. I'll probably do that at a later date. Actually, that's not true at all. I won't. I'll forget. All right, so I started to run the wiring. I think I got enough wire to put the remote where I want in the cab and then hook it up to the battery and run it. I got just enough wire to run to the winch itself. So I'll get that hooked up and I'll show you kind of the routing procedure that took place, if that's what you want to call it. This is very exciting stuff. Hillbilly wiring here. Well, this is the wrong utensil, I'll tell you that right. Meow. I mainly just want to get this wired up, even just temporarily, in order to spool up the rest of this winch. I don't want this thing getting knotted up on me while I'm monkeying around with the other stuff. And of course, I'll get some zip ties to properly cinch this wire. When I say properly, I mean just barely. So in the cockpit here, I'm trying to figure out where I want to mount my winch remote. I was thinking about doing it down here, but I don't want to get in the way of this console here. So most importantly, don't want to get in the way of the cup holders. So I think I'm going to use the tab on the back here, drill out this rivet, and mount it up here because I don't really see anything that's very important up here. Huh, it worked. That's as solid as the whole rest of the dashboard is. I utilized a locking nut on the back side of that, so it shouldn't be able to wiggle, and even if it does, it's not going to come off. It might be able to tip, but I'm fine with that. So That button is a little bit finicky, but what do you expect from a winch bought at a big box lumber store with rebates on sale? All right, so next thing on the docket is my tote. I want to make sure that this thing has somewhere stable to sit and something I can probably tie it to. It doesn't fit in between the wheel wells, so it's sitting all cattywampus at the moment. My plan at the moment is to cut some blocks and put a piece of OSB, kind of a subfloor in there that this can be strapped to and sit stable, and hopefully I can utilize that space underneath there for something. I can't let that space go to waste. Well, as you can see, I crawled an audible. I decided to get lazy. I thought if I did a whole OSB false floor, I would lose some of the extra storage along the sides and things like that. There's never enough room. In life in general, there's never enough storage. So I didn't want to eliminate that. Plus, this is way faster. And I want to leave room here for the auger. Maybe I'll start futzing with some of the auxiliary lights. I bought some LEDs off of Amazon. See if I can figure out how and where I want to mount those. So here's the light kit that I bought off Amazon for the UTV. It has two of these smaller spotlights and one, I think it's a 20-inch light bar. I gotta figure out how I'm going to mount them. The back ones, I think I'm gonna make a bracket off of here, pointing down and out the back. More of task lighting. The front one, I kinda wanna have it up high, but there's nothing there. I'm not wanting to really drill holes through the roof unit itself, so I might have to make a bracket all the way across. Or I don't really want to put it on the front bumper, but that's an option. That seems way easier. I probably will end up doing that. Okay, here's the game plan. Got enough space in between the roll bar and the headrest mount. I can put this 3/16" bar in there, heat it up, give it a twist so it's facing directly backwards, and I can drill a hole and mount it. So now I'm going to use the wrong tip for the torch. Heat this up without my leather gloves on. And I got my angle finder kind of sitting there so I can get that sort of close. I can test it once I get it warmed up and get it tweaked. Close enough. So I'll let that cool down for a good minute or 9. We'll see what the fitment's like. So that's all I have time for today. So we'll let this paint dry, and I'll see you tomorrow. All right, so tonight in the barn, we're gonna continue wiring up the Rhino for the lights. I bought an extra wiring harness with a relay and switch because I want the front light bar to be controlled separate than the back spotlights. I just think that'll be nicer. I'm gonna wire it, the relays and everything underneath the driver's seat. There's enough room. I'm gonna put a deep cycle battery underneath there. I'll tie that into the existing battery as well, but just when you're out ice fishing, it's cold. You may use more power than you think. I don't wanna get stranded. I just think it's good. Cheap insurance as long as I have the batteries. They're out of my boat for the trolling motor, so I take them out of there for the winter anyways. Start plugging away, see how it goes. All right, here's where a fella like me struggles. I'm gonna have 2 of these toggle switches, 1 for each light. I hate drilling into dashboards. Do I put them up here? Do I make them inconspicuous and put them down here? Do I do here? There's that one spot there that looks like something is meant to go there. I have no idea what that is. Put one there and one above it. What would you guys do? I hate drilling holes and stuff like this. But you know what? It's a 18-year-old machine. It's not that big a deal. But it is. It is a big deal. I don't know. I just got to pick a spot and go for it, and it probably will be fine. I don't know. I'll think about it another 14 seconds and make a plan. Deep breaths, deep breaths. Okay, here goes nothing. Okay, it only hurts my soul a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Oh, actually it doesn't look too bad. After 97 test fits, taking my time drilling, I got them in there. I think they'll work. I think it'll be just fine. Got the top one to do the forward-facing one. The bottom one can do the rear lights. All right, so here's the sit rep. I've been working on this a little bit in the evenings. I finished up most of the wiring other than the front light bar. This could be just a touch longer, but I got it zip tied up out of the way. I got my auger mount mocked up. My tote that has most of my goods in it is in there, and then I still left room. I can get 3 or 4 5-gallon pails across underneath the auger. So let me show you what I got for the auger mounts. What I did is I utilized the back bolt for the tie-down hook in the box, and made this fixture, which is tack welded to just a piece of 1.25 inch angle iron, which I still need to get bolted down to the top of the guardrail or bed rail. But I utilized the yoke on this side, and then the bucket setup on the top part that just pulls in and out. That's leftover, not leftover, it's utilized from the snowmobile build that I did last year. So if I'm smart enough, I'll put the link to that up in the top of the video so you guys can watch that after you're done. Other than that, I think I may have showed this before, but I got the wires from the secondary battery run through the engine compartment. And then I got everything sort of tidied up front for the switches. Lots of zip ties involved in this. I didn't cut them off. I know it looks better cut off, but those ends get so razor sharp. So I think the trick is you hit those with a torch, but maybe I'll try that on a couple of them. So I got the front light bar mount fabricated up and everything mocked up and mounted. I made these tabs here, which I welded to the roll bars on both sides, as well as this tab tied to here, so I can adjust the angle with these 1/4 inch bolts. I cut all the parts and pieces out on my, highly customized plasma table, as you can see here. What else did I do? Oh, my daughter helped me swap out the tires. She came out to ask if there's anything to help with. I said, well, you know what? Let's take off these old bald tires. And I ordered these babies off Amazon. They showed up. I used my cheap Harbor Freight manual tire changer to break the beads and get it off. It worked well, but it did actually bent the tire changer a bit. I think mainly breaking the beads. I think I can put a picture in here now to show you. So in the future, I'm gonna have to buff that up a little bit, make it a little sturdier. But I think that this is looking great. Auger's out of the way. I still got room for the totes. It might be a little tight if I want to get my hard fishing rod case in there, but I can strap it to the top of it or something of that nature. All right, I'm gonna bust apart this mock-up and give it a coat of paint, or 3, and put it all together. All right, I'm gonna try something for fastening those back brackets to the top of the bed side. I'm gonna try to make my own L bracket here, like a toggle bolt, if you will. I should have my gloves on already, but I don't. I love having a torch, I'll tell you what. Even though I'm an idiot and don't know how to use it all that well. I'm gonna get that nice and hot right on the corner. Looks like 90 degrees. All right, I'll let that cool off. give her a test fit. So here's what I'm looking at. I'm using these top mounting holes that they have these like body push in, pry out plastic things that I don't want to utilize for this. So I took out 2 of them, front and back. I was hoping to get access to the inside or put just maybe a self-tapper in there, but the self-tappers that I have are all too loose. So that's what I come up with this harebrained idea. I might have to waller out this hole just a little bit to put this L in there. And I'll thread this, I said confidently. All right, so I got 1/4 inch by 20 pitch thread. Tap started on here. I don't know if it's exactly the right size for this rod, but it seems to be working okay. Could be slightly bigger. I might shorten it up with the grinder, get a little closer. Very nice. All right, I'm gonna get a ballpark measurement of how far I want that. I hate wallering out holes like this, but I don't think this is big enough to matter. I think even if I take this off and put the old push pin in there, it's still gonna work fine. Nailed it. That's the route I'm gonna go. So now what I need to do, I'm basically gonna put this in there. I'm gonna put this in there, I said. Whoa, remember how that went in real nice? There. So let's go right there. Cut that off, I'll thread that all the way down. I think that'll work. I'm gonna leave a little extra on there. All right, a little bit of the wrong cutting fluid. And let's do some tapping. This tap set's about 40, 50 years old. Somehow it's still complete. Actually, I know how it's still complete because it was hidden somewhere in a box that nobody knew where it was for probably 25 of those years. I'm sure they make way better ones, but at the same time, you don't need a top dollar rig to do something like this. Even if you don't have the funds to buy the whole kit right now, I think if you bought a tap handle, you can buy individual taps or dies, as this truly is a die. Have I been calling it a tap the whole time? Dang it, I probably have. All right, thread her up and off. I usually get too comfortable here, spin it off way too fast, and then drop it. I'm trying to learn from my mistakes. Look at there. Psh, I could have went to the store and probably bought that for like $1, but nope. I got to spend a half hour figuring it out and make it. Here's a look at the rails mounted on the box side. I got all the J-bolts in. I did cut these back bolts and put a little bit of this liquid tape, liquid electrical tape on, just so hopefully nobody will tear their snow gear out while it's on there. I don't know if I showed this earlier, but I put in anchors on each side so I can strap down the tote in the back as well. All right, I am back from the ice fishing extravaganza. Everything went well. Good times were had by all. The winch didn't necessarily come into play too much other than while we strapped her down into the trailer. The auger mount worked just as it should, kept everything safe and everybody out of harm's way with the blades. The tote with all my stuff in it, couldn't ask for anything more. But the cream of the crop was by far the lights. Those things make such a difference. These lights that are on the front end of the Rhino are pretty much hot garbage. Maybe new bulbs would help, but nowhere near the lumens that thing puts out. So feel nice and safe going across the water or ice. So that was by far the best bang for the buck as far as upgrades are concerned. So yeah, this thing worked awesome. I'd pull up to the hole or wherever I wanted to set up camp. I could open up. I could pull out the bare necessities. I got the heater, I got an underwater camera, tackle box, flasher, tip ups, whoops. And then I could pull the auger out, drill a couple holes, pull out my chair, and then get my hard-sided rod box out, and that could be set up in minutes. So I couldn't really have asked for anything more. Another thing I forgot to mention is that the tires were a huge upgrade. These ITP mud lights are fantastic. I don't know if you saw earlier in the video. The original tires were getting towards the end of their life. I didn't trust them to get me up the steep embankment to get back to the cabin. With the warmer temperatures that I was worried about it being slightly muddy, these things gripped awesome, never missed a beat. I do like having the second set of tires that don't have as aggressive knobs. I'll put them back on for the summertime so I don't tear up my yard while I'm using this around for who knows what. So after I concoct these projects, I usually assess and see after I use them for a little bit to see if there's anything I should have improved upon. This one is pretty straightforward. I like everything. The only thing maybe I would do different is maybe make this auger mount up a little higher to make it easier to get the stuff that's stored underneath it out of there. But it's really splitting hairs. So I guess one takeaway for this is just don't be afraid to try something. I find it better to do a little project. You know, some people get a classic car or something like that, get very excited to start working on it, tear it apart into a million pieces, and then kind of get bogged down in the big scheme of things. Take little bites. You know, this project took me a couple of weekends and a few evenings of futzing around. As far as supplies, I bought some of the steel. I had some laying around. Did it make the best financial sense to do this? Probably not. You can buy an auger mount for, you know, probably a few bucks more than what I got into materials, but it's the experience of making this, learning a craft. I'm not gonna say perfecting it, but getting better. It just, I don't know. You get that sense of satisfaction when it's done and the pride of building it. Be proud of your equipment, even if it's an old wore out 17-year-old side-by-side. One of the other fellows in the group of us had a just fantastic looking crew cab side-by-side. Sure, mine doesn't have power windows. It doesn't have a backup camera. Huh. Mine doesn't have heat either. Now I know what to look for or strive for, I guess is the best way to put it. At this point, I'll say thanks for watching.